上個禮拜就播咗美國爵士歌手 Stacey Kent 嘅第一輯訪問，就講咗佢新專輯 Summer Me Winter Me 製作概念同埋錄音嘅過程。呢個禮拜咧喺第二輯嘅專訪裏邊，佢就會分別介紹佢新專輯上面嘅歌曲啦。聽完呢首佢丈夫 Jim Tomlinson 唔係佢作嘅 Postcard Lovers 之後咧，就有 Stacey 嘅訪問。
發燒專訪國際知名爵士歌手 Stacey Kent Part 2。
Lately I've become such a postcard lover, especially of the ones I get from you. And if these days they don't come quite so often, they charm me more than ever when they do. I'll picture you beside a sunny harbor, waiting for a boat to come to shore. Your finger lingering on a postcard spinner in the doorway of a tacky tourist store, whiling away those warm enchanted evenings, writing in the corner of some cafe. A careless collection of words and feelings you happen to feel like sending me that day. I save every card, although it gets hard to keep some order among those random souvenirs. It amazes me some, the way we've become such postcard lovers, divided by the oceans and the years. Found yourself some wonderful companion and all the happiness that heaven allows? Or are you homesick for this gray and drizzly nation as you walk home amidst the evening crowds? Postcards I send to you from my own travels can hardly match the ones you send to me. But at least I give you news of what I'm doing and open my heart to you occasionally. Looking back on all the cards you've written from every far-flung corner beneath the sun, they say so little of the life you're really leading, so little of the person you've become. But they still bear the traces of all those special places we've kept deep within our hopes and in our fears. It amazes me some, the way we've become such postcard lovers, divided by the oceans and the years.
In the first part of your interview, you have been telling us the concept and the making of your new album, Summer Me, Winter Me. Let's go into the songs.
Yes.
咁我哋而家就講下啲歌啦。你錄咗2首法國音樂大師 Michel Legrand 嘅歌，咁一定對呢一位已故嘅音樂家係非常之敬重，同埋一定係佢嘅歌迷啦。You have recorded 2 Michel Legrand songs. You must be a fan of the maestro.
Such a fan of the maestro. You know, there are certain people who I feel like I miss and I missed, who I wish, because we cross in life, we cross timelines, and sometimes we don't meet. I didn't get to meet Michel Legrand, and had we met, I think that something would have been there. I didn't get to meet Jobim. And I know all of Jobim's friends because the next generation down, Marcus Valle, Roberto Menescal, Dori Caymmi, Danilo Caymmi, Edu Lobo, Miusha, Joyce Moreno, all of them are my friends who worked with Jobim. And they all said, you know, Jobim would have loved you, you know, because I sing his songs so often. And so I think that, you know, people like Michel Legrand, Jobim, Fred Astaire, they're such a part of my life. They're very present. But Michel Legrand, I will never stop singing those songs. They are, you called him the maestro. I mean, they are magnificent. They are masterpieces. And to sing them feels so good and is such a, honestly, it's such a privilege. You know, I feel like I am lucky for what I get to do, but I'm lucky that I fell into this world, that I know these songs, that I'm able to have them in my life and to be able to share them. Michel Legrand is just, what can we say? He's just an incredible writer. I can't even imagine what it's like to have been inside that mind of modulation and harmony and joy of the cycle of music and harmony. And so, you know, I feel like if I had been present in the room when he was writing, I can hear him giggle. Do you know what I mean? Like, because he hears it and then he writes it down to throw it into the world.
Just like Beckwith?
Yeah.
You did a Beckwith song last night. I love it so much.
Yeah.
冇錯，佢話佢係一個 Michel Legrand 嘅忠實歌迷。喺人生裏邊有好多人你係冇辦法遇到嘅，但係佢話如果有機會遇上佢嘅話，一定有啲好嘅事情發生嘅。佢就冇機會見到 Michel Legrand。同樣嘅，佢都冇見到巴西嘅音樂巨人Jobim，但係佢係識晒Jobim啲朋友喎，大部分都係Jobim啲後輩啦，甚至有同個巴西音樂家 Marcus Valle 合作過做專輯添。佢2014年同 Marcus Valle 同阿 Jim 一齊咧錄咗一隻專輯叫做 O Vivo。佢又講咗一大批巴西嘅音樂人嘅名，都係佢嘅朋友嚟嘅。呢啲朋友就同佢講Jobim咧，如果你有見到佢嘅話，佢一定會好中意你嘅。佢話可能因為佢成日唱嗰啲歌啦，咁佢話 Michel Legrand 啊、Jobim 啊、弗列亞士提啊，喺佢生命中係好重要嘅。關於 Michel Legrand 咧，佢就話佢好中意唱嗰啲歌，佢哋都係傑出作品嚟嘅。佢話佢覺得自己好幸運，因為可以嚟到呢個世界上邊，而係認識到呢啲歌，又可以唱分享俾大家。佢認為真係唔知道 Michel Legrand 佢喺創作嗰陣時嗰個心路歷程同埋個腦海裏邊旋律、和聲同音色嘅變化係點樣諗出嚟，然後構成佢嘅偉大作品嘅。佢話如果當時佢喺同一間房度睇到佢創作嘅話，佢會差不多聽到佢喺度一邊彈一邊喺度哼啲旋律都唔定嘅，好似佢聽到嗰啲聲音，然後就寫低咁樣。我問佢係咪好似另外一位美國作家 Beckwith 咁樣咯，一路彈一路唱。佢話係啊，喺演唱會度唱咗首 Beckwith 嘅歌喎，嗰首 Trains and Books and Planes 咧。
Yes, oh, beautiful.
然後我就話呢首歌係點解Warwick唱嘅？佢話係真係好靚呢首歌。咁喺個 concert 裏邊，或者喺你專輯嗰個書仔上面，你又寫你好少喺同一隻碟上邊錄同一首歌2次嘅。今次咧你就唱咗比利時作家歌手 Jack Brown 嘅法文原版同埋英文版嘅 If You Go Away. You mentioned in your concert and in the booklet of your new album, Summer Me, Winter Me, you said you have never recorded the same song twice on one album. But this time you recorded the Belgium singer-songwriter Jack Brown's song, If You Go Away, in French and in English.
Yes, I never would have planned it this way. But when Jim and I sat down to make the list of the songs that were the requests and by popular demand, one of the things about Ne Me Quitte Pas and If You Go Away that I find so uncanny and fun, I would sing it on stage, and after every show, every time, I'd go to the signing table and people would say, oh, I love If You Go Away, but I also love Ne Me Quitte Pas. I want to hear If You Go Away. And then the fans at the table all the time would discuss with each other, I like this version, I like this version, I need both versions. You know, it was a real debate. And so we thought, how can we not record this twice? So Jim said, I'll arrange it differently for each song. Because each song, it's the same song, but it is different. And so he
uses a string quartet and clarinet for one, which I just think his arrangement is so beautiful. And the other one we leave more stark. I started a cappella. There's no accompaniment. It's just so lonely. It's so desolate. And we thought, okay, that's better for the French one, with just the acoustic of the room. Ne me quitte pas, as opposed to, if you go away. I mean, we experimented, and we thought it works better for the French, for me to just be... It seems they're the same song, and they're both very painful, but there's something more bleak about the French one, and it needed to be alone. So we were very careful about how we recorded them. I'm very proud of them. I think that Jim just did beautiful job on the arrangement. And so we thought, you know what, if we put them far apart from one another on the record, this will be fun for the fans to be in one. And then at the end, it's not a bonus, but it's like a bonus, like, oh, let's go back here and let's end with the very stark one. I really love how that came out. I'll have to finish how I started and say, I never planned that, but it happened very naturally.
咁我係嘅，從來都未試過一首歌錄兩個版本嘅。但因為好多聽眾同佢講，又中意聽佢唱英文嗰個版本，又中意聽佢唱法文嘅版本。咁佢同阿詹經過一輪嘅討論啦，決定都係錄兩個版本啦。咁阿詹做咗一個弦樂五重奏同單簧管嘅編曲。咁呢首就用英文嚟唱啦。咁另外法文嗰首呢，佢就想做一個比較孤寂嘅感覺，所以開始咧就係清唱，然後用簡單嘅樂器伴奏啦，就只係利用嗰個房間嘅音效去製造嗰種特別嘅空靈感覺。咁佢哋做咗好多唔同嘅嘗試，咁最後咧就錄咗兩個版本。佢認為阿詹做呢兩個嘅編曲係做得非常之靚嘅。咁喺個專輯上面擺嘅距離嘅位置前後比較遠啲嘅咧，一隻喺前面，一隻喺後邊，就會令啲聽眾感覺好特別同埋好有趣嘅啦。佢唔係一早就計劃咗咁做嘅，不過就係好自然就發生咗咁樣嘅做法。跟住我就問佢：你能夠唱咁多種語言，英文、法文同埋葡萄牙文啊？咁當你唱唔同嘅語言嘅時候，嗰個表達情感有冇唔同嘅咧？ When singing the same song and songs in different languages, do you express emotion in the same way?
Okay, because when you speak your own language and you speak your second language, you're the same person. It's the same sensibility. But don't you find that even muscularly, it's different? And so maybe there's just this little different aspect of your personality. So my sister and I, we grew up with a French grandfather, you see. So we grew up speaking French. Although our personality is the same, when I speak with my sister in French, there's just this little extra nuance that's different. It's fun. I talk about my sister a lot because it's like looking in the mirror. She helps me to reflect about my own self and the music. She's not a musician, but she's very musical. And so we talk about these aspects that are very important. And the language is very important. So I don't have to change a thing. But the minute I sing it, because if I go, if you go away, ne me quitte pas, it sits, it's subtle, but it sits in a different part of my facial muscle. And that really does have an effect on how I feel. It's the same way that, how they say, psychologists say that if you force your muscles to smile, you make yourself feel happier. If you force it, like right now, I just feel giddy because I'm just going like this. The muscle leads you to an emotion. That's fascinating to me. And I think the same happens with language. And what muscles I use then propel me into a slightly different place. Again, I have to say, it's very subtle, but it is present. It's fascinating.
佢話無論你用你嘅母語去講嘢，或者用你嘅第二嘅語言去講嘢，你都係同一個人嚟嘅啫。個感覺一樣，但係面部肌肉嘅感覺稍為有啲唔同嘅啫。呢個可能係同你嘅個性有啲關係。佢同佢妹妹咧細個嗰陣時跟住佢講法文嘅祖父成長嘅，雖然同個妹都係用法文嚟交談，但係發覺大家嘅表達有啲唔同。當佢開口唱唔同語言嘅歌曲嘅時候咧，面部嘅肌肉就自然會帶佢去唱出另外一種感覺嘅。佢就話，正如一啲心理學家所講啦，如果你令到你面部嘅肌肉笑起上嚟嘅時候咧，你馬上感覺快樂嘅，就好似兩首唔同嘅歌咁樣喎。It feels like two different songs.
Yeah. And I feel so good about that. People are saying that to me. They say, oh my God, it's the same song. And I'm not even realizing that I'm listening to the same song. I love that.
佢好中意聽到人哋咁講，佢哋都聽嘅時候唔覺得係兩首歌嚟嘅。你又錄咗一首美國嘅標準歌曲啦 ，Andy Williams 嗰首 Under the Paris Sky。 You also recorded a standard made famous by Andy Williams, Under the Paris Sky. So you like singing standards as well?
Oh, very much. Okay, so here's the story about standards. When I started in my career, I sang standards most of the time. No songs were being written for me. Now, did I love the standards? Absolutely. But I will tell you the truth that I felt locked in. I felt enclosed because there's a formula. Now, there's a reason for the formula. It works great. 32 bars, the singer sings. Then there's solo, then it returns to the refrain and the singer sings again. It's great. It works.
As in the real book.
Right. And there's a reason it works. It's great and you use it. But song after song, I think I felt an itch. Like some component was missing because I had to follow this formula and there was a convention to follow. When I started to work with Ishiguro, I said to him, you can write me anything you want, okay? But I would like to find a way that we through compose, because he's going to write me a whole lifetime in 5 minutes. Like if we take the example of The Changing Lights or Bullet Train, there are the 3 sections when the couple is young and in love and optimistic and looking forward, then when everything comes crashing down, and then after, when maybe they're a little bit more world-weary, but they're resigned to the fact that it didn't work and they have to move forward. You're always moving forward. But anyway, he makes me this song. Jim writes the composition to accompany these lyrics. And there's solo, but it acts like a passage of time as opposed to a solo. So you still get that component of the jazz composition, but it's also being used as this passage of time because Ishiguro is so playful with time. The timeline of one's life. To come back to your question about the standards, when they started to write for me and I had the inclusion of these kinds of songs, suddenly the standards and the 32-bar form made so much more sense, was more powerful, was more potent because it wasn't every song. Then I could punctuate my show when I needed to with Under Paris Skies or Shadow of Your Smile or, My Ship. Shape of Everything was so much more powerful to me. So now I couldn't live without the standards. I couldn't live without the songs that are written for me. I think together they make such a beautiful program.
係啊，佢話佢開始唱歌嘅時候咧，冇人寫歌俾佢，所以佢只係演繹啲 standard 嘅歌曲，即係喺個 real book 度揀出嚟嗰啲啦。佢話佢真係非常之中意嘅。咁佢就話老實講咧，唱多咗之後咧，就感覺好似俾嗰個格式困住咗，因為 standard 係要跟住一個方程式去演繹嘅。32個音節，咁啲歌手就唱啦，然後就有獨奏啦，翻嚟副歌開始，嗰個歌手又繼續唱啦。咁樣做一定有個理由嘅，而且亦都係好合理嘅，行得通嘅。咁唱咗一排之後，久而久之就覺得好似有啲嘢唔足夠咁，個心癢癢想試下唔同嘅嘢啦。佢就揾到石黑一雄同佢寫歌詞，佢就同石黑講你可以自由發揮，寫咩題材都得㗎。咁石黑一雄喺描寫時間上面係非常之獨到嘅，亦都係非常之有趣嘅。佢可以喺5分鐘之內咧寫到你喺人生發生所有嘅事嘅，好似 The Changing Lights 同埋 Bullet Train 咁啦。The Changing Lights 裏邊咧，好似係描寫人生命裏邊嘅3個段落，寫一對熱戀中嘅男女，開始時候好樂觀，充滿幻想，但係發展落去咧，發現生活係不似預期，遇到好多困難，兩個人之間就發生咗好多問題，但係到最後都要妥協，大家繼續生活落去。尖就配上咗旋律啦，亦都有獨奏嘅部分嘅，保持咗爵士嘅基本元素啦。咁呢啲間奏亦都好似代表咗時間嘅過渡，象徵住人生命裏邊每一個階段。咁佢話佢又要有 standard， 又有啲新歌，兩樣都唔可以缺少嘅。因為有咗呢啲 standard 同埋原創歌曲咧，佢都可以作為演唱會裏面啲標點符號，用嚟分隔開啲歌啦。夾埋咧就形成一個演出啦，同埋錄音非常之好嘅節目內容啦。咁喺呢一碟裏邊亦有啲係音樂劇嘅歌嚟嘅噃，好似 Happy Talk 係嚟自南太平洋之戀啦。What about musical soul pieces like Happy Talk from South Pacific?
Yeah, and Show Me
from My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
同埋窈窕淑女裏邊嗰首 Show Me.
Movies are very important to me, and musicals. And I talk about this with Jim and Ishiguro a lot too, because they're very cinematic. They're both very into cinema, as I am, and the way in which you tell a story in cinema, and the way they write the music is so cinematic. I mean, I find singing their songs so visual, but then when I sing songs from the movies, it's also so visual. I would say that even though this is audio, what I'm doing, from my experience as a singer and an interpreter, it's very visual. It's fascinating. that too, that it's like I'm running a movie for me. And the words they choose, everything is just very evocative and very visual. And I hope that the audience feels that way too, that they almost see their own screen, the way they want to interpret it.
電影同音樂劇對於佢嚟講都好重要嘅。佢同阿 Jim 同石克都係好中意睇電影嘅，唱佢哋嘅歌咧好有意境嘅，好有電影感。雖然佢係用聲音去詮釋呢啲歌曲，但係佢好似喺度播緊電影俾人睇，俾人哋聽咁。咁同阿 Jim 合作咗咁多年，個工作關係點樣㗎 ？What is it like working with Jim for all those years?
Yeah, I love it. I'm so lucky. It gets better. It was great to begin with. We had a great dialogue. We had great chemistry. But it grows as we grow. We grow together. We grow separately. We are growing. I hope as a musician, as a singer, that I continually grow and do better. Jim feels the same way. And together, I think that we work on our dialogue. What's great about working with your husband and your best friend is that I really trust Jim's ears. He has great ears. He has a great vision, but he also knows me so well. He and Ish know me so well. So they write so well for me. And he produces me so well. He knows what to get from me. If he's not liking something, he will tell me. He has lots of tips for me. And I just think we're a great working team. And I love hearing him play.
佢話非常中意同阿 Jim 合作。佢哋兩個人不斷嘅各自或者一齊喺度成長緊。作為一個音樂人、一個歌手，佢希望自己係會一直咁樣成長。佢最親密嘅朋友，佢嘅丈夫阿 Jim 咧都係咁諗嘅。佢話阿 Jim 咧係有好好嘅耳仔，佢好信任阿 Jim 嘅耳仔係好可靠嘅。佢話阿 Jim 亦都好有音樂嘅理想。最緊要嘅仲係阿 Jim 對佢好有認識，所以佢兩個係最佳嘅拍檔。所以阿 Jim 寫俾佢啲歌都好啱佢唱，而且係佢專輯嘅監製人，會俾佢好多有效嘅提點同埋忠告嘅。Jim 亦都係一個好好嘅音樂家啦。Stacey 好中意聽佢玩音樂，咁樣同三重奏合作係點樣嘅感覺呢？ What about performing and recording with a trio?
The trio is stunning to me. You won't please everybody all the time. I mean, some people are going to want to hear the quintet. Some people are going to want to hear the orchestra. We hope to do enough that pleases all the fans. But from my point of view, my favorite thing to do is the recital that we did last night. I will tell you that with fewer instruments, I hear more because nothing is overlayered by something else. The harmonics that sing from a piano are extraordinary. Right there, and I'm not hearing the drums or the bass from my left ear, or both ears, but the harmonics are just singing. And Jim's harmonics from his horns is also such a magnitude, right? So I have all of these harmonics, so I'm swimming in sound, even though we're only three. And if the sound engineers get it right, the hall can be filled with so much sound and so much harmonic.
And energy.
And energy, even as just three. So this is my favorite thing to do, I would say, of all the music that I do. And I love it all. I mean, I love playing with the quintet. I love playing with guitar. I love playing with the orchestra with 60 of us. My God, that's such a feeling of just velvet. But this is my favorite one.
咁啊 Stacey 就話：你真係唔可以滿足所有人嘅。有啲人想聽五重奏，有啲人想聽大樂團嘅伴奏。而對於佢嚟講咧，佢最喜歡係好似喺香港演奏嗰陣時嗰個組合。佢就話樂器少啲嘅時候咧，佢就聽到更多嘅，嗰層次比較分明，啲樂器唔會搭埋一齊嘅，鋼琴發出嘅泛音係好正嘅，喺冇鼓嘅聲音之下咧，個鋼琴好似喺度唱緊歌咁。而阿 Jim 啲吹口咧好有效果嘅，令到佢好似沉浸在啲聲音裏邊唱詠緊咁嘅。雖然台上面只係得3個人啫，但係如果音響工程師收音收得正常準確嘅話咧，整個音樂廳咧都會充滿住聲音。當然仲會充滿咗能量添啦。咁佢就話佢一樣好中意揾吉他嚟做伴奏啊，或者係同五重奏大樂團一齊合作演出嘅。不過佢最中意嘅都係同一個小組，好似三重奏咁樣喺台上面做演出。咁我就問佢會唔會同阿 Jim 一齊合作寫歌呢？ Do you write songs with Jim?
Absolutely. We do, because there's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of dialogue. So although Jim is the writer, we are constantly in conversation.
雖然寫歌嗰個係阿 Jim， 但係 Stacey 都會不時同佢討論下點樣寫歌嘅。咁你中意做 concert 多啲啊，又話去錄音室錄音多啲呢？ You like going on tour or recording in a studio more?
Well, I do like both. I mean, I love both, and I wouldn't want to be without either. If I only recorded and didn't tour, I would miss the humanity and the real life that's going on inside that room. And I never forget that humanity inside that room. And so even though there are 1,000 people in there whose story isn't my story, I love that I am so keenly aware of the fact that we share so much. Tarkovsky, the filmmaker, there's a beautiful quote from him, and he said, "One book read 1,000 times is 1,000 different books, because everybody will make their own story and put themselves in the protagonist's place from their own history, right? And yet at the same time, we all collect under the same umbrella because that story is also universal. Because really, what's different between us?" So in answer to your question, I can't live without live, because to be in a room with 1,000 people whom I do not know, and yet we all get each other, is the most gratifying, privileged position to be in as a traveling musician. But to record is also so intensely beautiful. So I wouldn't want to just play live and have my music be so ephemeral. So I need both.
佢話佢兩樣都中意嘅，兩樣都唔可以缺少。如果佢淨係錄音而唔去巡迴演出嘅話呢，佢就會錯過咗喺演出會場接觸人嘅機會，感受唔到生命嘅真實。每一次都唔能夠忘記嗰個感覺嘅。雖然喺個房間裏面可能有1000個人，有1000個唔同嘅故事可以互相分享。佢引用俄國導演塔可夫斯基嘅一句説話，佢話：一本俾人睇過1000字嘅書咧，就係1000本唔同嘅書，因為睇嘅人各有各嘅經歷，有唔同嘅故事。因為人都喺同一個天空下生活嘅，不同嘅故事都有佢共通嘅地方嘅，可能都會帶嚟共鳴，感動到人，同埋有代入感嘅。咁樣錄音嚟講，對佢亦都係一件非常美麗嘅事嚟嘅。所以佢兩樣佢都係好需要嘅，缺一不可嘅。咁我最後就問佢喺香港、廣州同埋澳門演出之後，佢有啲咩嘅工作計劃呢？ What is your plan and schedule after touring Hong Kong, Guangzhou and Macau?
So we will tour now for this 9 weeks, which is very hard. And it's hard on the body. I will go home tired. So we will take 3 months off before we tour again in the spring. So we will take care of ourselves and be in nature with our birds and our hikes. Because we don't live in the city, we live in rural Virginia. So we will be inspired by Mother Nature, and we will take care of these bodies, and we will write and make music for the next album. So we're working on an album with Jim and Art again. We've already started it, so maybe we will put that out next year, at the end of the year. We're working on another project with Ishiguro, which is very exciting. The part 2 of Songs from Other Places will happen. Then the project with Ishiguro will happen probably the following year. We have a few different albums coming out that we're already working on. I don't want to say too much, because we don't want to give anything away. But we have 3 records in a row that we want to make. The Ishiguro stuff is very important to me, and I will say this. Next year, I don't know if it will be available here in Asia, although I hope so. So Faber, Ishiguro's publisher, will put out a book. It's called The Summer We Crossed Europe in the Rain, Kazuo Ishiguro Lyrics for Stacey Kent. It's all the lyrics, maybe 15, that he's written for me. Beautifully illustrated by an Italian illustrator called Bianca Bagnarelli. So that will come out in March. So that's just book form, but we will try and do some shows around that. So that's for the next year. We hope to tour a little less next year. Well, we will definitely do a tour with Danilo Caimi, celebrating 30 years of the death of Jobim. So we have some projects coming up, but we also need to have the time off so that we can make the next recording.
佢話佢會先完成佢而家進行緊呢9個星期嘅巡迴演出，到時就會好攰噶啦，跟住就放3個月假，咁直至到出年嘅春天再開始做現場嘅演出。佢哋係住喺郊外嘅山上邊，咁就可以喺大自然裏邊休養生息。不過同時間呢，佢哋都會繼續創作。手頭上佢哋應該有最少3個工作計劃噶啦，佢哋就會相當之忙嘅。其中有2個計劃係同石黑一雄合作嘅，其中一隻就係 Songs from Other Places 嘅續集。石黑一雄嘅出版公司咧，仲會出一本書，裏面全部都係佢為 Stacey Kent 寫嘅歌詞嚟嘅，仲請到意大利位好出名嘅插畫家畫咗好多幅好靚嘅畫喺呢本歌詞集裏面嘅。個書名叫做 The Summer We Crossed Europe in the Rain。所以明年3月出版嘅時候又會有一連串嘅宣傳活動啦。佢哋係會繼續做演出嘅，不過就會減低演出嘅場次。咁佢話真係唔知道有冇機會同埋時間再嚟亞洲做演出啦。不過非常肯定咧，佢就會參加一個紀念做 Jobim 逝世30週年嘅紀念音樂會嘅。聽起上嚟咧 ，Stacey 喺未來呢2年咧都會相當之忙噶啦。希望佢有機會再嚟香港演出啦。 喺訪問最後咧，我哋就播 Stacey Kent 新專輯 Summer Me Winter Me 裏邊嘅呢首比利時作家歌手 Jack Blau 寫嘅 If You Go Away 嘅法文版 Ne me quitte pas
Ne me quitte pas, il faut oublier, tout peut s'oublier, qui s'enfuit déjà. Oublier le temps des malentendus et le temps perdu à savoir comment oublier ces heures qui tuaient parfois à coups de pourquoi le cœur du bonheur. Ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas. Moi je t'offrirai des belles de pluie venues de pays où il ne pleut pas. Je creuserai la terre jusqu'après ma mort pour couvrir ton corps d'or et de lumière. Je ferai un domaine où l'amour sera roi, où l'amour sera loi, où tu seras reine. Ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas. Ne me quitte pas, je t'inventerai des mots insensés que tu comprendras. Je te parlerai de ces amants-là qui ont vu deux fois leur cœur s'embraser. Je te raconterai l'histoire de ce roi mort, de n'avoir pas te rencontrer. Ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas. On a vu souvent rejaillir le feu de l'ancien volcan qu'on croyait trop vieux. Il est, paraît-il, des terres brûlées donnant plus de blé qu'un meilleur avril. Et quand vient le soir, aucun ciel flamboie, le rouge et le noir ne s'épousent-ils pas? Ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas. Ne me quitte pas, je ne vais plus pleurer, je ne vais plus parler, je me cacherai là à te regarder, danser et sourire et à t'écouter, chanter et puis rire. Laisse-moi devenir l'ombre de ton ombre, l'ombre de ta main, l'ombre de ton chien. Ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas, ne me quitte pas.